Well, we're finally here. We are 24 hours out from when Sony will finally reveal their next generation system. At least we think they'll show us the design. We're not 100% sure on that. We definitely know games will be there, as several, we'll say, studios have pretty much told us that they would be there through hints, and who knows, there's even talk about a new Dead Space possibly being there. A lot of things going on right now, which is exciting stuff. But, of course, people are still wondering how much the system will cost, and while I don't think Sony will talk pricing tomorrow or even consider opening up pre-orders, I don't think any of that will happen. I guess they could show us the design of the system since it's going into mass production, and that's typically when things start to leak out from the factories as they kind of go through the build process. A picture will be snapped, and then all of a sudden it shows up on a forum somewhere. So Sony may want to even open the whole thing with a game and then show us the system. Very possible there. But some interesting things are happening today, some of which we'll cover tomorrow in Newswave, so make sure you check that out tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on the main channel. But those include listings. So we have listings that are showing up for different publishers that appear to be ready to show some sort of game and then put it up for sale, because as soon as these games start being shown, we'll probably hear from the publisher, whether it is like Rockstar or Bethesda or whoever, to really start talking about that game after it's initially revealed at this event. So because of that, we're starting to see SKUs or stop keeping units pop up on Amazon. And a few of those happen to be related to the PlayStation 5 system, which brings up a whole nother question, which is, will Sony have multiple SKUs at launch? It's something that most of us figured wouldn't be the case, at least right away. But now we're starting to see multiple SKUs on Amazon with different pricing and different storage options, which starts to turn into more of a how expensive can this system get and Sony can still sell it. Yeah. So Wario64 posted up on Twitter several different images that were captured from Amazon, and you can see some of them here, with the biggest one being that was pointed out, the dummy Sony PlayStation 5 2 terabyte listing at what I believe was £600 or $599.99. Now, most of the time that would end up just being $600 in the US. And that is a price that people have been concerned about for Sony to go towards since we had that price with the PlayStation 3 back in 2006, and that hurt it badly out of the gate. I mean, it was tough for a lot of people to go out and get that. I mean, it still sold initially when it came out, but sales were certainly not what Sony wanted. And of course, the Wii was cheaper. The Xbox 360 was cheaper. So Sony was this big expensive system that would cost you basically an Xbox 360 and a Wii combined. And Sony definitely wants to be careful of pricing here, but something I had not really thought too much about was the idea of them having possibly 2, maybe even 3 options like right away at launch. And I hadn't thought about that as much because they talked about how we will have expandable storage through NVMe, which would be SATA 4, that is not even really on the market for consumers yet, like mass sale on like Amazon or Newegg or any of these places, and that they would most likely be ready by the end of this year or early next year for mass consumption, which here's hoping, right? And they'd have to still go through them to see which ones are even capable of running the speeds that the PlayStation 5 will look for. So all of a sudden, a system possibly being $600 rather than $500, to me, starts making a bit more sense if you are concerned about storage. There is always the thought of, oh, I'll buy the cheapest one now and then add space later. But there's also a possibility that it will then be more expensive, and who knows, with compatibility issues and all of that. So it almost starts to turn into, would the PS5 actually end up being a $600 system for a lot of people? And to be honest, I wouldn't mind having at least options on day one. It could get a little confusing to some consumers because I don't think it's going to be a just flat out 2 terabyte system, since they've already told us it's 825 gigabytes. I think there's a little bit of guesswork going on here by Amazon just to have a page up, although it is from Sony, so again, who knows what that is about, unless they just want to have a dummy page up for what they think will be another SKU ready to go by launch day. But most likely that means it would be what, an 825 gigabyte and then a 1650? That's weird. 1.65 terabyte system, I really just go up to 2 terabytes. Just have your baseline 825 gigabyte, and then for anyone who wants to pay $100 more, just give them the flat 2. At least that would be a bit more compelling for people to upgrade to. But it's going to be interesting if they really do have a $600 model. Microsoft is probably going to be pretty excited about that because they'll be falling over themselves to put a $500 Series X out there, and you know they're going to compare it to that $600 model from Sony, especially since they'll have their own memory cards that you can buy, and who knows, maybe the Series X is a terabyte, and then you can easily buy a memory card, and maybe Microsoft does some paper math and is like, oh, we'll put the 1 terabyte memory cards out there for $100 so that you can match it later if you want and still spend the same amount that you would for the PlayStation 5. It's just something to think about. These listings could just end up being just dummy false listings that Sony for some reason put up on Amazon. They could even be around for a while and people just started noticing it because the hype around the PS5 event right now is at an all-time high and people are just excited and looking to spend 24 hours seeing information, picking things up, checking out rumors, and oh look, there's an Amazon listing. So keep that in mind too. But I'm excited for tomorrow. I will be streaming. I think we're going to go live 30 minutes prior to the 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern start time for the Sony stream, kind of go over some of the rumors, talk about what we can expect, and then afterwards talk about it a little bit as well before we wrap up. It's supposed to be about an hour long, so I would expect to spend about 2 hours or so on stream, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we'll do a big wrap-up in a video afterwards, possibly going into Newswave the following day. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. Make sure you like the video on the way out if you enjoy it. Dislike it if not. And make sure you're subscribed down below as we continue coverage for next generation going towards the end of this year. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what games are revealed here with Sony and then, of course, with Microsoft. And don't think Nintendo doesn't have more stuff to show as well. I'll see you guys next time.